Little Darlings, an Adrienette one-shot alternate universe fanfiction. Come on, Tiki, Marinette said as she tried to get her little hamster into her cage. The hamster squeaked and ran to the far side of the desk from her cage. Marinette sighed. Tiki hated being cooped up in her cage, but how else would they get to the hamster owner meetup? Marinette picked up a small slice of cucumber. Hey Tiki, do you want this? She baited, waving the snack in the entrance of the cave. Tiki's little eyes seemed to gleam, seeing the tasty treat, and she seemed to question if she should go and get it and be stuck in the cage, or stay in her freedom without it. Ultimately, she decided it was worth it. Marinette sighed a breath of relief. Tiki hated being in the travel cage. Her normal cage was very big and filled with colorful tubes and running wheels. She had a fluffy bed and the softest bedding. However, in the travel cage, she only had one running wheel, a small layer of bedding, and a simple pillow for a bed. It was not as comfortable as her normal cage. Tiki was squealing as they drove to the meetup. Come on, girl, we only have a little ways to go, and then you can play with some new friends, she said. Tiki squeaked again. Marinette sighed. They had been driving for 20 minutes, and her little hamster didn't like even a second of it, and was very vocal about it. Ah, we're here, she said with a relieved smile. Parking her car, she got out, taking the cage with her. Walking into the large building, it was clear they had upgraded the interior. The walls were painted a faint mint green, a far cry from the dark gray of years before. There were many green spaces for the little hamsters to play in, cage sellers displaying elaborate homes for the little animals they all loved so dearly. It was packed inside. Some people looking to take home a new pet, and others just looking for friends with the same pet for cute little play dates. Inside, smelling the food, all of the food, and seeing all of the possible new friends, Tiki scurried around her cage. Come on, my dear, you'll make some new friends. Marinette smiled, bringing Tiki to her eye level. Squeaking, Tiki climbed up the walls of the cage and touched Marinette's nose lightly with her paw. Marinette giggled. Tiki was her pride and joy, her baby, adorable and small. Marinette couldn't even think of a life without her. Marinette spotted a small green area. It wasn't too crowded, but it wasn't deserted. Tiki didn't like being chased around in large hordes, nor did she like being alone. Setting the cage down into the mock grass, Marinette opened the cage door for Tiki to leave and run around. However, a little black and lightning-fast fuzzball zoomed into Tiki's cage. Tiki squeaked a bit. Marinette was very concerned and confused. Tiki was a small hamster. She had white and grayish-red fur, not a full-on night black coat. She said, not sure what to do for a second. Oh, I'm sorry, cried a voice to her right. Marinette turned to see a blonde-haired young man basically running towards her, stopping short of running into her. Plag, he scolded, holding his hand out by the opening of the cage. The black hamster crawled out, flipping in his hand. He clearly had the face of an adorable troublemaker. Plag, it's not your cage. Don't bother other people, he said. He turned towards Marinette with an apologetic smile. I'm sorry for Plag. He's such a rascal, he said. Marinette laughed. Oh, don't worry about it. He's clearly very playful. She brushed off. I'm Adrientte, he said with a smile and hand out, a very genuine expression on his features. Marinette Dupeng Chang, she said, shaking his hand, a bright smile on her own face. Adrian rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. I guess he really wanted to play with someone, he chuckled, looking at his hamster and then back at Marinette. It's okay. Tiki has been dying to make a new friend too, she giggled. Tiki, upon hearing her name, came out of the cage and looked at her owner, and the owner of the invading hamster, and squeaked. Marinette smiled. It's okay, sweetie. He just wanted to play, she said. Marinette motioned for Adrian to put Plag back into the green. Adrian cocked his head. You sure? He asked. Marinette nodded, so Adrian set his hand in the green and Plag scurried off. Tiki and Plag stared at one another for a couple of minutes, Marinette holding in a secret breath of worry. But then the two hamsters squeaked together and began to chase each other around. Aww, our little darlings are getting along, Marinette cooed. Adrian sighed adoringly. Yes, they are. Where'd you get them? The Mega Pet Store. It's about 30 minutes away from here. Oh, me too. Maybe that's why Plag and Tiki are playing so happily together. They may have been friends at the store. Adrian smiled brightly. Yeah, that's why. That explains why he was willing to go barreling into someone else's cage, he said. Marinette nodded her head. About 30 minutes later, Marinette decided it was time to go look for that new cage extension that she had been so excited to check out. I guess I might see you around, since we work in the same building, Marinette smiled. Yep. See you soon, hopefully. Adrian nodded. Marinette went over to where Plag and Tiki were playing, and scooped up her little hamster. However, that caused Tiki and Plag to squeak loudly together. Shh, sweetie, it's okay, Marinette said, cringing as the other owners turned their way. Tiki did not think it was okay and just kept on squeaking. Tiki, you'll see your friend soon. We're just going to check out some cages, Marinette said again, cupping her hands closer together. Marinette began to step towards where the travel cases were contained, but Tiki became even more distressed. Marinette's cheeks flushed pink in embarrassment of her crying hamster. Tiki was normally a very calm little pet, but right now, she was anything but calm. Thank goodness for Adrian, for she was Marinette's savior. Adrian scooped up Plag and walked quietly to Marinette, holding his hamster up to hers. Only then did Tiki relax and become quiet. Thanks, Marinette breathed. Her anxiety levels had risen when everyone was staring at her. Adrian smiled kindly, the corners of his eyes crinkling. Of course, no problem. He brought his hands closer to hers and Tiki. They just really missed each other, I guess. He laughed. His finger brushed against hers. Even the feeling of his fingertips sent a wave of fuzzy warmth through Marinette's body and a smile on her face. Tiki turned around and stood on her hind legs, something she could only do for a few seconds, and then turned back around to Plag. Marinette's smile grew just the slightest bit. Tiki was a very smart little hamster. Maybe she had a plan to get Marinette to interact with this very handsome and kind-hearted stranger that just so happened to live and work near her. That would seem like a stretch for any other hamster to do, but Tiki had noticed a journal underneath Marinette's bed, got out of her cage, and drawn it out to the open area where Marinette could see it and stop freaking out about losing her journal before. So, getting Marinette to meet Adrian seemed to be in the cards. Ah, I think they're still attached to each other, Adrian chuckled. Marinette nodded her head in agreement. Can you, come with me to the, cages? So everyone doesn't think I'm holding a screeching fire alarm in my hand, Marinette said nervously. Adrian smiled kindly and nodded his head, his blonde locks bouncing up and down. Of course, he said. Marinette bit her lip nervously and said thank you as they both walked towards the cage display. Ooh, that one looks so cool, Marinette said excitedly and pointed to the cage. It was clearly inspired by an actual modern house and was now in hamster cage form. Yeah, Adrienne agreed. Marinette sighed. If only I was rich, then my little Tiki would have everything in the world, she said, rubbing the top of Tiki's head through the bars of the cage. Adrian chuckled and petted his own hamster. You're probably the best hamster mom ever, he said. Marinette looked at him and backed down, slightly embarrassed, and tucked her hair behind her ears. I'm just trying to do my best, she said. Adrian smiled and nodded. Adrian? A woman walked up to them and spoke in a formal voice. She had perfect posture and a stone-cold expression, and she looked like she was just the slightest bit familiar. Adrian's cheery expression dropped, and he turned around. Your father requests a meeting with you, she said, adjusting her glasses. Adrian sighed. I'm at this convention for my hamster and me, not him. If he wanted a meeting, he should have asked me himself, rather than send you for the past 2 years, Adrian said in an aspirated tone. Marinette didn't say a word. She had no idea who this lady was. She was very confused by what was going on, and considering they had just met, she was not about to pry into Adrian's life. So now she was going to be stuck in the dark forever. He would like to speak with you. You are his only son, the woman said without a hint of emotion on her face or her voice. Adrian pushed back his hair, clearly annoyed. Well, he should have acknowledged the father part of my life. So why should I worry about being his son? I'm not a kid anymore, Natalie. I don't need to follow your orders or his, Adrian said, speaking sharper than he had before. I don't live under his roof. You haven't been my caretaker for years. I don't need either of you in my life anymore. You can tell him I'm busy, Adrian said coldly. The ice woman, Natalie, he said her name was, finally took in a breath, showing a sign she was indeed human. She seemed very robotic before. We should speak. Natalie looked around at all the bypassers. In private. Without your father. Adrian nodded his head and began to follow Natalie to somewhere and motioned for Marinette to follow. She was shocked. Marinette did not want to be involved, but she couldn't deny that she was curious. Without anyone else, Natalie said, turning around when she realized that Marinette was coming with them. I want my friend with me, Adrian said, looking her dead in the eye. Natalie raised an eyebrow, judgingly, and Adrian walked back a few steps and wrapped his arm around her shoulders, making Marinette's eyes go a bit wide. How long have you known Adrian? Natalie asked, definitely intending to sound judgy and smug. But Marinette wasn't gonna fall for a trick like that or be intimidated by this woman. Marinette sharpened her stare, and in the most sickly sweet voice, Why should I tell you? Marinette said. Natalie probably tried to gasp, but closed her mouth and tried to look as professional and calm as she could. Natalie let Adrian and Marinette into a small private room. Your father has not seen you for 4 years, Adrienne, Natalie said. Marinette was shocked. She looked down at her hamster. Oh, she emotions, Marinette thought. Great. He must be used to it, considering how often he ignored me or sent someone else to take care of me during my childhood. Adrienne, you know he was very busy. Yeah, now I'm busy. Oh, how the turned tables have turned. Marinette looked at the scene with wide eyes. Adrienne was so nice to her, but right now he was just upset. And Natalie was no longer the stone-cold and icy woman she had met mere seconds ago. Adrienne, please, no. You have no hold on my life, and nor does he. He only wanted what was best for you. By shutting me out from the rest of the world? By leaving me just one friend in 18 years? By homeschooling me and making my every choice and keeping me on a tighter leash than a dog? I don't think so. Natalie looked like she was about to cry. Tears seemed to well up in her eyes, and Marinette would admit the way Adrienne was speaking was harsh. But the actual words he was saying gave all the reason. What good parents would control their child's life? He loved you with all of his heart. He just wants to see his son again. Adrienne sharply laughed, a humorless laugh. Maybe he should have been a father then. Maybe he should have came and ate breakfast with me instead of saying, I'm busy, eat alone. Maybe he should have helped me make the right choices rather than picking and choosing every aspect of my life for me. Maybe he should not have tried to mold me into the perfect social media poster boy instead of letting me be my own person. As far as I'm concerned, he never wanted to be a part of my life. He just wanted to control it and make it perfect at the expense of me. He was all cold and distant my entire life, basically a stranger. So why would I ever spend time with a stranger who didn't want anything to do with me? That made Marinette's mouth drop. Wow, she knew nothing about this family and that. But she did know that was some messed up parenting right there. She was a very lucky girl. Happy home life, good parents, lots of homemade treats, and lots of love. Clearly, her childhood was a complete 180 from Adrienne's. His seemed to be sad and lonely, without love and without a true family. Adrienne, Natalie started again. She was fruitlessly begging him. No, Marinette cut in. Natalie and Adrienne both whipped their heads to look at her. Natalie was shocked, but Adrienne had a faint smile on his face. Natalie opened her mouth to say something, but Marinette cut her off. No, you don't get to say anything else. I don't know you or what happened while he was growing up, but what I do know is that Adrienne is a grown man and he can make his own choices. You can tell his father that. Marinette stalked over to Adrienne and grabbed him by the hand, leading him out of the room and back into the busy convention. Adrienne exhaled, his eyes shining and a laugh on his face. Thank you, he said. Adrienne shook his head, eyes closed, and chuckled. I am sorry for dragging you there, but thank you for getting me out of there. Marinette smiled. Of course, that's what friends are for. Even the ones you just met an hour ago. Adrienne held up their still intertwined hands. How about I take you to dinner next Saturday? Does that work? Adrienne smiled, the peak of a sharp canine tooth showing. Marinette felt a warm blush creep its way onto her face. Yeah, that works for me. Adrien pulled out his phone and handed it to Marinette to put her number in. I need to leave, but I'll see you soon, Adrien said, finally letting go and waving goodbye. Bye, Marinette said. She looked down at her hamster, who this time was not shrieking and fussing like before. Come on, my sweet little thing, we'll look at cages and go home. And so they did just that. An hour later, Marinette was back in her car with Tiki in the seat next to her, her cage strapped in. That was fun and different, Marinette said, looking down at her hamster. Tiki squeaked in response. Marinette sighed wistfully. I thought I was gonna go get you a new cage, not a date with a handsome blonde guy. Tiki squeaked again and ran around her cage, stopping to climb upwards to her owner. Marinette gave a light laugh. You and your little friend Flag planned this, didn't you? She eyed her pet. Tiki squealed again. Marinette laughed and turned the key in her car to start it up. Well, planned or not, thank you to you two little darlings for being the cause. Marinette drove off, a whimsy, flowery indie song playing. When she had started up the car this morning, Marinette didn't expect much other than new treats and a new cage. Now she had plans for a date and a whole new path in her life. Who knew this could come from a hamster owner convention? Hi guys, I just want to say a huge thank you because the day that I recorded this video, we had hit 200 subscribers, which is kind of insane because I swear we just hit like 5 the other day, but apparently we're now at 200 and it makes me so happy. I've said this before, this channel is my pride and joy. I don't really know what else to say because this is crazy and it feels unreal, but thank you for subscribing or liking my videos or commenting or watching them or just anything to do with my channel. When you guys like share it to your friends or comment or show me love, it makes my heart warm and it feels crazy. This is crazy. So thank you guys so much for watching or listening or reading or just looking at anything that I do. That really does do so much to help my channel grow, and